Alright, I thought I would do a ribbon pour at thin trace to show the difference, because the other videos that I made, the trace was definitely thicker and the soap sat on itself. When you're pouring at a thin trace, when you're doing a ribbon pour at a thin trace, the trick and the problem is that the soap is so thin that it won't sit upon itself. And so when you're pouring, because you want those lines to stay, you basically want to lay it down in the mold, and it's very difficult to lay it down in anything deeper than a single layer, because it's so thin. It will just tend to, it'll just pour through, and then you'll get more blurring of your lines. So I'm going to show you what I do. It's more labor intensive, but I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm in the right spot. It's more labor intensive, and so this would not be a very good technique for people who are volume sellers. I understand that, but still, occasionally making a special batch for something or somebody is fun. So gonna do it. The colors, I am going for my little malachite thing that I posted about before. And the colors don't look quite right. They're a little foresty right now, but that's because the green that I use, I'm just going to put some, I like the fine black lines that some mica or charcoal in oil gives, so I'm adding some of that. So the green that I'm using turns a little khaki in batter, but it will turn back to bright green after it's done. One of the tricks, I'm using my bar mold. It's in the freezer, and so that's going to get cold. I do that between each layer. I made my full batch for the inch thick soap that I want in my 9-bar mold, but I split that in half, split the lye and the oils in half, so I'm currently working with half a batch, and the other half I'll do for the 3rd and 4th layer. So I'm going to do 4-layer soap. The first layer, because the mold is so cold, it's going to come right out of the freezer. The soap will freeze to the bottom of the mold, and it will stay in place because the soap will immediately freeze to it. So you won't have too much blurring of your lines. Then after I'm done with that pour, I will again put it in the freezer. Just to solid it up a little bit, solidify it up, excuse me about my bad grammar, solidify it up a bit. I think I'm about half there. And I forgot my fragrance, god dang. Anyhow, my fragrance is strong enough, I will make sure I put it in the next part, and it will scent the whole soap. I did that the last time too, because I'm an idiot. And then I'll pop it in the freezer between each layer, so each layer is a little bit set. And then that allows the next layer to sit on top and not fall through and blur all the lines. Let me just grab it. Sorry about that. I put paper on the floor when I'm soaping because I'm a slob. Let's make sure that you can see that, and we'll see how it goes. So this soap just came out of the freezer. It's very cold, and we'll see. This is super thin. I stick blended to emulsion, split, put my colors in, and then I stick blended again. None of these are to trace. These are all to emulsion. So make sure this is super thin. So make sure that you're very careful, that you definitely to emulsion. And then when you're pouring, just remember, the more you move your container up and down to stop a pour, the more mixing you're going to get. So basically you want to try to just lay it down in the mold. I may have too much black, and the thing is, with malachite, it's got such awesome patterns. I don't know if I'm going to be able to adequately represent that, but we'll see. Oh, too much caffeine for me today. Well, at least for pouring soap. Nope, I need something where I can get closer to the mold. That's all right. That first part was perfect. Now I think I'm pouring too fast and I'm not getting quite the lines that I would like. That's okay, we'll see what we get with our next one. The next one, the soap will be a little bit thicker. Oh, yep, that's too thin. And it's too, it's blending too much. So a little bit too thin. Well, that's good. I like that, but I don't like the other part. Still, gotta pour. So we'll just do what we do. Oh my gosh, I cannot, I need to like get right on there. My next pouring container is going to be a little different and allows me to get on top there so I can actually just pour. I'm sorry if I'm in your way. I can actually just lay it down. And when you can lay it down, that's when you get your better lines. But yeah, this is difficult when it's so thin. I didn't want to cover up that other part because I liked it a lot, but it's going to go over there. So the closer you can get to your mold, the better off you are. You can see the difference between that very first and this, where it's, this is way too, it's way too blended for me. That's okay. That's part of soaping, isn't it? So I'm going to see if I can get more of that, which I like a lot, with the next pour. So let's just even this out a little bit. I think I'm going to have to cover that. It's okay. It's all a learning process. And it's good to see people bomb as well, right? Because then you know what happens. So I would say too thin, too blurry, but that's okay. Next one will be better. Okay, here we go. I had to wait for a bit. These soaps are at the very lightest of traces. I learned my lesson from the last one. It needs more body. So that's what we're going to give it. Still very thin, as you can see. But this will hopefully hold a bit better because it's just got a little more thickness to it, and it will hold up under the pressures of pouring. Oh yeah, that looks perfect actually. I'm going to have quite a bit more black in this one than the last one because I didn't use as much. But I don't need it to look exactly like malachite because I'm just not that picky. I don't know if you can see, it's I'm not getting as much reflection off the, I have to be at a certain angle, but I can see just that little bit of body as the soap's going in there. It's, there's just a teeny bit of a ridge as each soap goes in, or as each color goes in, which tells you you've got it just about right. Like I said, I like the very fine black lines that some mica or charcoal and oil gives. I did remember my fragrance, which was good. I'm using Green Irish Tweed mixed with patchouli. It's very cologne-y, I will say that. For some people that's just the ticket, which is why I don't use all of my own soap. But somebody will like it, and that's good. So I've got more black on this side, so there will be some probably bigger, wider streaks of black. Again, I'm fine with that. Don't use too much charcoal and oil because it little goes a very, very long way. I've actually almost turned some soaps completely black doing that because in the oil it's extremely mobile, let's put it that way. Alright, let's get all of our colors in here. We're going to have this side being a bit black, but that's okay. And my mold is still in the freezer, chilling out. Sorry if I'm in your way, but try not to be too much. There we go. So this is an old crucible that I found at a porcelain crucible I found at a vintage store. All right, here we go. It's not ugly, but it's not what I wanted, so that's okay. We don't mind not ugly, right? So here we go. This is pretty cold, so I'm thinking the soap will stick fairly well to it. So here we go. Let's hope for the best. That's a better pour, I can tell already. So malachite tends to have all these awesome lines. And you don't have to pour straight across your mold by any means. It's kind of fun to try some different things, see which patterns you get. I like the more organic look. So I'm going to try some triangles and things like that, because I can't get the little bullseyes from malachite. Oh, this is exactly what I want. There's that little bit of mixing you can see coming in. That's from the black. That's from my charcoal in oil, I'm sure. So these lines are staying nice and neat. But if I tried to keep pouring on top of it, it would start to pour through. So this is very limiting, I would say, for this technique, to have that happen where you can only pour so thick at one time. But for decorative soaps or something special, I would say it's worth it. All right, I like that. You can see there's a little bit of give to it, but the bottom is pretty well frozen, and it's not going to move too much. So I like all that. That actually is a little too big. I should have squeezed that a little closer to the side, but live and learn, right? So we'll put this in the freezer, and then I'll make the next half of the batch and maybe try some different patterns, see what we get, and just do it again so you can see a few times what it looks like to pour thin.